how to get the results that you want. So what's keeping people from getting the results that they want in their life. So just a couple things before we get started. So I'm going to go for about 30 minutes or so, and I'm going to be discussing, what's keeping people from getting the results that they want. So for those of you that are note takers, go ahead and be present. I know that some of you have some things that are going on, kiddos and stuff like that, but be as present as you can. Take notes. For those of you who haven't turned on your cameras yet, go ahead and turn on your cameras so that I can see your beautiful faces and we can interact. Try to keep your mics muted as much as you can. And I know that all of you have been on Zoom calls before and Zoom meetings. So if for any reason that you need to go to the facilities, it's okay if you leave us out. I'm sure we've all had experiences where that didn't go so well. So go ahead and interact in the chat. This is going to be a really interactive presentation. I'll ask questions. You can go ahead and interact in the chat, and we're here to learn and have a good time, and just keep it super cash, and just learn how to level up. So for those of you who haven't yet met me, my name is Roshun Jones, and I am a recovering software engineer. I was a software engineer for over 20 years. And I was self-taught, started about when I was age 15, and I was a software engineer up until about 4 or 5 years ago. An entrepreneur, investor in stock market, real estate, and a master neural linguistics programming trainer and also practitioner. And I'm a mindset coach. I work with entrepreneurs, helping them change their programming, and I've worked with well over 1,000 individuals at this point. But it wasn't always that way. In my pursuit of growing my career, I found myself in a really dark period of my life. And this is a picture of me 2 days after I'd taken my last graduate school final. And in this picture right here, I had no clue whether or not I was going to graduate or not. And I had gone all the way through my last class, took my last final, and I could tell you that I thought in my mind that I had bombed that final. There was just no way that I was going to pass it. And I had already applied for graduation. I invited all my friends and family, and I didn't have the heart to tell them that I may not actually be graduating. So in the pursuit of me trying to become this person that I thought I was supposed to be, I was burned out. I was anxious all the time. I mean, like the anxious, I was having panic attacks like once a week. I would go to the ER once a week. There was a time that I was so anxious that I would drive to the emergency room and I would just park outside in the parking lot. That way that if anything happened, I'd be close enough to go get help. So this was a really dark period of my life, and I was really depressed. And having finished up school, I felt like I was living with no purpose. And so it was at that point that I had to make a decision to do something different. And so I did what a lot of people did. I was taking prescription medications. I was working with psychologists. I was doing all the things, but nothing seemed to work. And so that's what led me into to neuro-linguistic programming, hypnotherapy, because I was looking for alternative ways to overcome the anxiety and depression that I was experiencing in my life. And so I'm sure, like you like me, you've been in similar situations where no matter how hard you tried in life, you just weren't getting the results that you wanted. You put in effort, and it just left you feeling frustrated, disappointed, and confused. Anyone else like that felt that way? Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's why I want to do this presentation, because I'm going to share with you the framework that I use, that I go by on a day-to-day basis. And so for those of you that are keeping notes, go ahead and write down that our minds are meaning making machines. We make a meaning of everything. We try to find associations with things, and we make meanings of everything. And you'll find that that's going to be the root of how you feel, and how you feel is going to drive your behaviors. So, like a lot of people, these are the mistakes that I've seen people make when they try to get the results that they want in their life, in their business, in their relationship, their fitness and health, like all the major areas of life. They find that they need to work harder. So instead of trying to find alternative ways to get something done, they put their head down and they just try to push their way through. So they rely on the willpower to get them through, but it's just not working. Or they'll go and they'll try to focus just on tactics. And so they go out and they seek, the gurus to teach them how to get through a particular situation, only to be led in the same situation. So they look for quick fixes.
Just make sure.
Hello? Oh. Okay. So they seek out quick fixes, and those quick fixes only last for a little bit, and they just find themselves back in the same situation. And you're going to learn later why that is. So people, they stick to old habits, and then they see the red flags. They see that what they're doing isn't helping, but then they continue to do the same thing. And so they neglect their personal boundaries. For instance, if they're working in their business, they work late, they blow through their non-negotiables, and this just leaves them again feeling frustrated and disappointed. Has anyone in the chat, if you felt this way, just go ahead and put a 5 in the chat. Yeah, Nikki says, yep, that's me. Jess. So you can't behave consistently in a way that's inconsistent with your internal programming. This is why New Year's resolutions don't work. And this is coming up here soon, right? In a couple months, you're going to see all the Facebook posts. New year, new me, fit fam, fit life, right? Did you know that I think it's 3 weeks or so into the new year, 80% of people fail on their New Year's resolutions? But every single year you see it. Yeah, like January 1st, like I'm gonna finally lose that 10 pounds. I'm gonna start exercising. I'm gonna this, I'm gonna that. But then it falls off because you can't behave consistently in a way that's inconsistent with your internal programming. And so what we're going to discuss today is how do you identify what that internal programming is, and how do you shift it so that you can get the results that you do want. So real quick, what do you give a 600-pound gorilla? Anyone know? Go in the chat. Go ahead and put in what you think the answer is. Bananas. Can you hear me, Nikki? Whatever it wants. That's right. You give a 600-pound gorilla whatever it wants. So before we get started, let's go ahead and talk about, you've heard people talk about the unconscious mind and the unconscious mind. And so the conscious mind, and for you note takers, you can go ahead and write this down because this is going to be really important for you to keep track of. So our minds, which we call our brains, so inside of our brain, the conscious mind is going to be a conceptual part of it. And it's responsible for only 10% of what you do on a day-to-day basis. And so it analyzes, this is where the logic portion is, and this is where your short-term memory is. So as you're listening to me talk right now, you're logically trying to figure out what is it that he's talking about. You're making meanings of the things that I'm saying, and you're trying to rationalize like what you're learning. So this is another thing that you can write down. So your conscious mind is the goal setter. And so when you set goals, this is the portion of the brain that says, I want to learn, I want to lose that 10 pounds, or I want to run a marathon, or I want to start a business, or I want to do whatever it is that you do. You consciously think about it first, and then the ball gets rolling. And so you're going to learn here shortly that the unconscious mind, that represents 90% of what you do on a day-to-day basis. This is where your long-term memory is stored. This is where your emotions and your feelings are. And it's responsible for all of the involuntary body functions. For instance, when you're breathing, everyone, I hope, I truly hope that everyone has been breathing the whole time that you've been on this call. Because if not, I could send assistance, right? You didn't have to consciously tell yourself to breathe. You didn't have to consciously tell yourself to have your heart beat. And so 90% of what we do, if 90% of what we do is based off the unconscious mind, you can see that focusing on the conscious mind is not as impactful. Which is why all the work that we want to do, if we want long-term change and immediate change, we do it at the unconscious level. And so earlier I said that the conscious mind is the goal setter, and the unconscious mind is the goal setter. So for you note takers, you can go ahead and write that the unconscious mind is the goal getter. So the relationship between the two is your conscious mind, you consciously come up with a goal. That's the goal setter. And then the unconscious mind is what goes and gets the goal. And so the unconscious mind you can think of as that 800 pound gorilla. Let's say 600 pound gorilla. 600 pound gorilla. I just gave him 200 extra pounds. So, yep, thank you, Yessie. Yeah, so the unconscious mind is the goal setter, unconscious mind is the goal getter. And so when you could get such a huge gorilla on your side, then you can see how you can accomplish whatever it is that you want. The problem is that people's gorilla is set to get things that they don't want. If you ask someone, what is it that you want in life, they're really good at telling what they don't want. They're not as good as telling you what it is that they do want. So this is one of my favorite slides because this is going to be the framework that I use to accomplish and navigate through my world on a day-to-day basis. How's everyone doing so far? If you're still with me, go ahead and put a 3 in the chat. Good. Awesome. Now I have my intellectual glasses here. And I'm going to try not to get too deep on this. So, but this is one of my favorite slides.
Is this the nerd disclaimer?
Yes, this is my nerd disclaimer, and I forgot to take off my headphones. But I want to be able to hear you guys. So, on the right-hand side, you see the 2 million bits of information, and we live in what's called a sensory world. In the physical world that we live in, we interact with it based off of our eyes, based off of our ears, based off of our taste, based off of all these different senses, our touch, and a lot of us are thinkers. And so when events happen in the world, 2 million bits of information are coming at us at every single second. Like right now, as you're listening to this presentation, you're receiving, amongst all the other stuff, the light inside your room, maybe you have cars outside, all this information is coming in, and it's coming into the mind. And what happens is our brains can only handle 126 bits of that 2 million bits of information. Like from 2 million, the brain then takes it down to 126. And it's interesting because even recent studies have says that with all the advancements in technology, that it could be upwards of 11 billion bits of information every second. But for the purposes of this conversation, we're going to go with 2 million bits of information going down to 126 bits. So how does it do that? So the mind is really efficient about doing this, and what it does is it filters that information down using processes of deletion, distortion, and generalizing. So I'm going to walk real quick through what these are. Just a second here. So when we delete something, is when we take information from the 2 million bits, and the mind will just slash it out, and it's going to slash it out based off of other experiences that it's had in the past. And so an example is like, let's say that an entrepreneur hears a negative feedback on their business or their service, but it's grouped together with a lot of other things. For instance, it's in a review and someone says, I ate at this diner, the food was amazing, the waiter was excellent, but the parking sucked. Right? What they will do is they'll delete out all the positive things and only focus on, oh, but the parking sucked. So then they're like trying to figure out that that's all they're focused on is the negative aspects of what data came in. Or how about someone who says that they don't have enough time? And so all they do is they focus on, how much of a busy schedule that they have. And so they tell themselves that they just don't have the time, when we all have the same 24 hours in a day. The next filter is going to be distortion. And so when we distort things, we take that 2 million bits of information and we alter it. And we misinterpret what that information is. An example of that is, let's say that someone is doing public speaking and they feel as though they're being judged harshly. So now, if they already have that preset filter inside their minds, when they go speak, they're going to feel as though they're being judged. And not just like in that setting, like what's another time that someone has felt judged, when people are like, I think they did great. One of the things when I took speech class in college that I learned is everyone there in the audience is there to support you and they want you to win. And that was it was a groundbreaking thing for me, because when you look at it from that perspective, when you set that filter that like no one shows up and says, like I've never been to a presentation and says, man, I hope this dude fails. I hope he stumbles over his words. I hope he like freezes up. I just can't wait. Like no one does that. Like, but public speaking is like one of the number one fears that people have. It's like it's just so fascinating to me, because there's a filter that's set inside their minds that when they misinterpret the information that's coming in. And so the next filter is going to be generalizing. And so this is when someone had a previous experience, for instance, like public speaking, and it didn't go so well. So then every other time that they go and they do a speaking event, the unconscious mind will just go back to that event and say, "Oh well, all speaking engagements are going to be the same way." And so now that we have an understanding of these three filters, how does that dictate the behaviors that we have and ultimately the results? So imagine 2 million bits of information coming in, and it goes through these filters, and you can imagine the beep boop boop bop boop beep boop beep boop, right? Comes in, you now have 126 bits of information. From the 126 bits of information, the mind will then create what's called an internal representation. So basically, how someone sees the world. And some people, they see the world in images. Some people model the world in sounds. Some people, they model the world in how they feel. Some people model in the way that how they think. I can see some people right now like touching themselves. Those are my fillers in the room right now. I can see some thinkers, some contemplative thinkers. So based off what you just learned, go ahead and put it in the chat what you think you are. You got a visual learner and a thinker. Okay, I like that. Filler. That's shocking. Yes, I would have never thought that you were a filler. Joanne. Still debating that one, Joanne. Nikki says all of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nikki, I at first glance, I would say that you are what we call an auditory digital, meaning that you are a thinker. And just based off of your body language so far, I picked up on that. And so auditory digital people, they're all of them. Like I'm an auditory digital person. And so we model the world and we take the 126 bits and it's all kinesthetic, it's auditory, it's visual, it's all of it. And we very quickly make a decision. Yeah, she's got a comfy sweater on. What are you sitting on though, Nikki? Are you sitting on a nice comfy couch or a wooden stool?
Oh, oh no, I'm sitting on my comfy meditation.
Okay. Okay. You might be high filler. Cool. Yeah, Jenna's definitely a visual person. Yes, I can definitely see that. Which is why, Jen, I'm always commenting on your glasses and your decor and stuff. I was like, you're a super visual person. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like visual people, they really focus on the way things look. Like it's very important to them the way things look. And when you talk to someone who's visual, they'll say things like, "I see that. I see your point. I can see what you're doing there." Kinesthetic people, yeah, that feels good. That feels right. Yeah, I get a good feeling about that. Auditory people, that sounds good. Yeah, I like how that sounds. And thinkers are, yeah, that makes sense. I completely understand what you're saying. Why don't you feel? Yeah. Are you asking me personally? I feel all the time. So now that we have an internal picture, internal representation, whether it's visual, auditory, feelers, thinkers. There's a model in the world of the event that happened. Now the brain says, okay, I have this picture in my mind. How should I feel about it? So remember earlier I said that we're meaning making machines. And so the mind will say, well, okay, so what meaning am I making of this? For some people, it'll be, oh, I should be angry. For some people, it'll be, I should be sad. Some people, it'll be, I should, whatever the emotion is. That person, based off of their filters, their internal programming, is going to perceive the world differently. And so what happens is they have an internal state change, and then as a result of that state change, the body then changes. There's a physiological shift. So for instance, if the brain says, oh, time for you to be sad, then they'll kind of slump over and just, when you see someone really sad and, they talk like this and no, everything is okay, right? You can really easily look at someone and tell that they're sad. Or if they're really happy, and they're just excited, like I always am, for those of you that know me, my state is my physiology is telling you what my internal state is. So based off of that physiological state and all the other things, the internal representation and the state, there's a behavior, right? So if, for instance, I'm training for a marathon right now, and the IR that I have about it right now, because it's 53 degrees outside, I can tell you that the internal state isn't that I want to go outside and run. And so if I'm like, I don't want to run, right? My body's like crampy and all that stuff, then my behavior is going to be that I'm not going to run. And so if I don't run, then we get to why we're here is the result is I don't train. I don't go out and run. If someone is if the event is a speaking engagement and they've generalized that all speaking engagements suck, and they make a meaning of it that if that sucked and I suck, then they're going to be more apprehensive and they're not going to go and do speaking engagements. What are some other events that you can think of that, now that you see this framework, that would prevent someone from getting a behavior or getting the results that they want?
Like a personal event?
Yeah, just like what's something that would have what's an event, an external event that would cause someone to feel. Just go ahead and walk us through the framework.
So let's say public speaking.
Mm-hmm. What's another one? Because we talked about public speaking.
Okay. Running my own retreat.
Okay, running your own retreat. All right.
Yeah.
So, what's the event? You have the opportunity to run your retreat. You see other people running retreats. Like, what's the external event that you want to talk about?
Having a successful event.
Okay, and so have you already done the event?
No.
Okay, so what's stopping you from doing the event?
There is fear.
Fear. Okay, and so the 2 million bits of information. So has there ever been someone who's done a successful event before?
Yes.
All right. So if you're standing side by side with them, why is it that they see the opportunity as being successful and you be like, "Ooh, there's fear there"?
Because everything in this model.
Right? So that's the intriguing thing, right? And so there is, and I think this on the next slide, reality doesn't exist. We experience life as we perceive it. Two people can be standing side by side, seeing the same 2 million bits of information, and live a completely different experience. So as Jesse would be standing next to someone else who does the same events, to the same avatar, same city, same everything, but based off of her internal filters, her internal programming, she would say, "Oh, well, like there's some fear there. There's a fear. What's the specific fear, Jesse?" Mm-hmm. You gonna lose control of them?
Yeah, like they're gonna be all in their ish. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone's like, ah.
Right. And has there been a time in the past where people have you've lost control of a group of people?
Yes.
Right. And so what's that an example of in the filters? Like someone go ahead and put it in the chat. What is that an example of? She's done this before. She had a bad experience before. Mm-hmm. Generalize. Yeah. Generalize. Yeah. Generalize. Yeah. Awesome. Good job. You're learning. I love this. You got it. You're experts. Sign you up. So as I said, so reality doesn't exist. Like if there's anything that you can take away is that reality doesn't exist. Your experience that you're having in life is based off of how you perceive it. And so if that's true, if you can believe that, then you also believe that you can change how you perceive the world based off of this. Because you know that in the middle, in the filters, that's what dictates how you perceive the world. And so the filters, as I said, they shape how you see yourself and they shape how you see the world around you. Like it's really that important to understand. Because the world will try to convince you that things are in reality, blah 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 blah. Yeah, that's BS. That's garbage. Because your perception is going to be different than my perception. And so one of the biggest filters that I've seen, working with individuals is that they have what we would call limiting beliefs. You hear it all the time. Oh, I have a limiting belief. I have a limiting belief. I have a limiting belief. But you now know that it's a limiting filter. All it's doing, all limiting beliefs do is filter the 2 million bits of information down to the 126 that's getting you the results that you're getting. And so some common ones are I'm not enough, I don't trust, I'm not worthy, I can't do it, and I can't afford it. How many of you, just go ahead and put a 2 in the chat if you have ever known someone that has felt this, thought this, saw this, or heard it? Right? This is going to be a lot of your customers. This is going to be you at times. This is going to be your friends. It's going to be your family, right? You can see how their combination of filters is going to dictate the behaviors and the results that they get. So again, imagine like through those filters at 2 billion bits of information, 2 million bits of information is coming in. Based on those filters, it's going to set an IR. So let's say I'm not enough. 2 million bits of information comes in through the filter of I'm not enough. It creates a picture for visual people. I'm not enough will create an image of themselves looking as though they're not enough. And then what happens? Oh, they feel sad. I imagine that they feel sad. And then the body will shift and start to slump over and they'll talk like this at times because they just don't feel like they're enough. And then the behaviors are just going to be like they procrastinate. They don't take action. And then they don't get the results that they want because of the filter. So let's go ahead and take a few moments. And now that you are complete experts on limiting filters, go ahead and take a moment to jot down one reoccurring thought or feeling that you suspect is holding you back. Based on the looks, that was pretty quick. anyone like to share?
I'll say that I can figure it out myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's like my latest limiting belief.
Mm-hmm. I can figure it out myself. That's a, that's a big one. That I'm an imposter, which equates to I'm not good enough. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So I can't tell a good story. Interesting. I've disappointed people. Okay. So thank you. Thank you all for sharing. So based off of those limiting filters, can you see, as you see now the framework, how that's impacting the results that you get? Anyone not seeing the connection? You could just say me in the chat if you're not seeing the connection between that filter and the results that you want. Stops me from moving forward. Yeah. And if you, Nikki, if you felt like you were enough, you would move forward.
Yeah, if I felt confident that I knew what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Forward.
When you say if you felt confident that you knew what you wanted to do, so is it that you don't know what you want to do?
Actually, I think it's more like if I felt confident in knowing enough about what I'm doing to actually help people. Like the thought that comes to mind is, who are you to think you can do this?
Yeah,
Type thing.
you're Nikki.
My constant. Yeah, right. But I'm constantly thinking I need to do another course, I need to learn more, I need to get here before I can really jump into my dreams.
Okay, I love this. I love this. You're gonna love the next slide, and you're gonna see why. So, how many of you would like to see how you can shift these limiting filters? Go ahead and put a 3 in the chat if you're just like, yes, I want to know. Some 3 is good. So, shifting filters has this is a technique that it's four steps. It's very simple. The first step is awareness of the filter, which you all just completed the first step. Good job. Give yourself a round of applause. Good job. Good job. The next one is you're going to reframe it. And so reframe it just says, I'm not enough, and you reframe that into something else. Right? And then you're gonna the third step is align that with align the actions with the new belief. And then lastly, you're gonna visualize yourself completing or executing on that new belief. So let's walk through an example. I'm not ready, which was very similar to what you just said, right, Nikki? And so the reframe would say, I have everything I need to take the first step. So if you're feeling like an imposter because you feel like I need to go take another course, I need to join this coaching program, I need to this, I need to that, right? And if you just said, well, instead of I'm not ready or I don't know enough, you reframe it to I have everything I need to take the first step. As a coach, here's what I'll tell you. You have everything you need already inside of you. Everything. And the filter, that's the only shift that is needed. And what we didn't get into is that those shifts they happen, decades ago when we're kids, usually between the ages of 0 and 7, and then into adulthood, we're just constantly trying to manage those filters, because then we go, oh man, I can see how this is like impacting my life. So so with respect to that one, so you want to align your actions. So Nikki, so what would be, how would you align to a new action of I have everything I need to take the first step?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
I'm trying to read. It says visualize taking that action right at the bottom, right?
Oh, sorry. Let me. This is. I'm supposed to move myself at this point.
I mean, I want to say visualize it because I'm a heavy meditator. Like, I could sit in meditation with this, the action steps towards goals.
Hmm. So right now the action is doing nothing, right? So how do you align to the new action?
By doing.
Right. So if you reframe the belief to I have everything I need to take the first step, then what's the new action? Like how do you align to that new action?
Well, actually taking those steps.
Right. And so if you visualize, like if you had like a bag, and in the bag it had all the steps that you needed, and then you dump them all onto the table and you align them in order of the steps that you need to take. Right. So now you don't have to focus on just all the steps at once. You're now just focused on taking the first step. Right. And so visualize that. Visualize the opportunity to just take the first step and then just do that. And I can tell you this: it's okay for things to not be perfect.
Yeah. Like, I'm okay with imperfect. I mean, I think I say that and then struggle to take the steps. But I don't know that it's in fear of imperfection.
What's it a fear of?
Being enough.
Yeah. Like
Like,
how will you know when you're enough?
well, that's the thing. I have to tell myself, right? I mean, I think it's like self love. How do you know love? You have to give it to yourself.
Hmm.
I get to decide.
Yeah. So what do you need to know, hear, see to make that decision now?
I don't know.
Belief in Easter Bunny? Like what?
Belief in myself.
Okay. And so what do you need to know, hear, see, feel to believe in yourself now?
I struggle with that because in the past it's been like outside affirmation because I have some internal constructs from childhood trauma telling me otherwise. So I've often sought for that outside validation
Mm.
to tell me those things.
Yeah. And so as you learn today, yeah, go ahead.
I think I still look for that kind of stuff in the coaching and stuff like that.
Yeah. And so there's a filter, right, that relies on that external validation. And what you learn today is that you can become aware of that filter, reframe it, and then now you can start to take new action. Yeah, I know, I'm making it very, very simple. Yeah, like if it was that simple, I would have just done it.
I'm thinking like making sticky notes in places that I see a lot to help reprogram all those distortions that are
Mhm.
floating around in here.
Yeah, action is by far the biggest coach that you'll ever experience. Action. Because right now you're living in the comfort zone. Because the unconscious mind is very efficient about keeping you safe and doing it efficiently. And so if you step out and you go, uh-oh, I'm not enough, and people are going to X, they're going to judge me, they're going to whatever the internal representation is. Like we create these internal representations. Like, right? So based off that information, it comes in and we go, ooh, like, if I get up there and do that, then people are going to judge me. So then we don't take action. But we know it's a lie. Like we know, like, intuitive, like, or like, consciously, like, yeah, that's intellectually that's a lie. So we challenge that. And that's what this allows you to do. The reframing is challenging the belief. The visualizing is now programming your mind to say, like you said, like you do visualizations, you do meditations. One of the biggest programming tools that we have is imagination. And that got stripped away from us as we grew up from kids. Man, I was a mechanic. I could jump off the roof with a grocery bag on my back and fly. Like, I was the things I could do as a kid. I look back on it now and I'm like, psst, that's crazy. Like, right? Because the world strips our imagination away from us. But one thing to note is that the mind doesn't know the difference between what you imagine and what's real. It has no clue. You could tell yourself that you are the foremost expert on your coaching, and your mind will go, okay, cool. And then your 600-pound gorilla, it'll start to take action on that because it has no clue. Which is why when we watch movies, when we watch like sappy movies, and I'm sure Trevor will agree with me on this, that we tear up a little bit, right? Because we see ourselves in that character. Our minds doesn't know that it's not us. Our unconscious mind thinks everything is about us. It takes it very personal. Waterworks, babe. That's right. Real men cry. So, use your crying Nemo, man. Yeah, don't even get me started. Don't let me tell you about ET. Okay, so see, my people. So use your imagination, use your visualization, become aware of it, reframe, align the actions, and then visualize it, and see how things go from there. And you'll start to see that your results will shift. So we're just about at that time. I want to honor you all's time. So I wanted to create some more opportunities for questions. So what questions do you have?
I don't have a question, just more of a statement. I really appreciated how you used the 2 million bits and the filter and then the 126 bits. And it just made me, because I'm visual, right? And I come from the broadcast television background, so I thought of the UHD coming to you through your senses, but then your mind is like a dial-up modem.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I saw as you were describing it, and I was just like, man, that does not work.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
If
I heard the sounds of the modem, that back in the day, that AOL modem sound. I was just like,
right. Get off the phone. No, I'm sorry. That was my life. Another one for you is there's a bypass filter, right? So as those frequencies are coming in, they go through bypass filters, which says that, oh, I only want the highs or I want the lows. So it'll filter out frequency. That's going to be a deletion. So as the frequencies coming in, there's a bypass filter that says, oh, I only want like the 75 hertz frequencies, and then that's all you get is the 75 hertz frequencies. Now that 75 hertz frequency could be everything except for the things that tell you that you are enough, that you can do this, that you have all the things that you need. And so what we want to do is we want to broaden those frequencies, broaden the filters so that we're getting all of the information. Instead of just like we're getting like this much information right now through those filters. And our goal is to expand the bandwidth so that we receive more information. Because the information that tells you, Nikki, that you are enough, it's there. All the things like what's yours, Jenna? Can't tell us which is so ironic to me. I have to call you out, Jenna. Jenna is she is an amazing storyteller because every time I watch her stories and I hear her talk, she talks about the beaches, and every time I listen to her talk, I visualize myself on the beach.
Aw, yay.
Like you are an amazing storyteller,
Thank you.
and so that all that information is there, but it's going through the filters and it's deleting it out. So just if anything, just know that the results are tied to how you perceive the world, because your behaviors are dictated by how you perceive the world. How you perceive the world is based off your filters. You have control of your filters, not the world, not everyone else. You have control of your filters. No, please understand that part. So, did I answer your question, Trevor? Oh, you had a statement. Sorry.
Oh no, that was great.
Yeah. Anyone else? I'm here. Like if you want to jump, I can stay on a few more minutes if there's more questions. I want to honor everyone's time, but I nerd out on this stuff. I love it. So,
Did you see my question?
what is your question, Miss Yesenia?
For the people, speaking for the people.
Other people can take the IR test. Yeah, I'll put it in the community. So the IR test, which she's talking about, is it'll tell you what your internal representation system is. So if you are a thinker, if you are a visual person, an auditory person, you can take this really quick assessment, and it'll tell you what your primary and your secondary representation types are. And I'll do another masterclass on how you can build rapport with people and how you can look at people and get an idea of what their representation type is. So just like when I was like, oh yeah, Jenna's visual. Like I knew that before you even said it. So when I'm talking to you, I'm going to use visual predicates. I'm going to say, yeah, I can see how you would see it that way, Jenna. And you go, oh, thank you. I feel so seen right now. So it's great. It's great if you're working with customers. It's great with your spouse, with your kids, because it's interesting. When in couples, for instance, they'll say, "I just don't feel like I'm understood," right? Because they're a thinker. If I may ask, Jenna, do you know what your husband might be based off this conversation?
He's a thinker.
Thinker, right? Here's your life relationship hack. You start saying to him, "Hey babe, I completely understand. I can."
Funny. That's funny because he says understood to me, and it irritates say to me.
Right. And so here's the advice for you to give to him. Hey, I learned today that I'm a visual. I see the world in visuals. My language is visual. Instead of saying understood, can you please say I see that? Your communication will it'll like exponentially change.
That's a very great tip. Thank you.
Yeah.
I wish I could stay, but I have to go.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been awesome.
Yes. Thanks for being here. All right, take care.
Bye, love.
Bye.
I have to go as well.
All right.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, good seeing you. All right. Okay, good seeing you, Nikki.
Bye, guys.
All right. Yep, take care.
See you in the next